Welcome back. Let's talk about monetization perspective of innovations. Without commercialization and monetization, what we would do? We would just claim that we have innovated upon something. We would just write a narrative and a story, but we won't be able to reach people in time and we won't be able to earn money to further propel innovation. You see, there are several kinds of data points or large data which is available which tells us that several innovations could not reach people or could not get monetized. People say that they failed. I refrain from calling this a failure. Innovation in itself is success, but then making it successful further, taking it for future usage and to be innovated upon further requires commercial value. Many people say that out of 100, 90 do not get successful and so on. There are reasons for people to bring up this kind of statistics. They have been monitoring these kind of things. There are research papers which have been working on this, and it is often that we talk about failures to think about how could we get successful. I would be also talking about things which organizations shouldn't have done. Although it is very easy to look at things in retrospective perspective and saying that if they didn't do this, then they would have been successful. But believe me, while we are into it, it's very difficult for people to take calls because there are so many questions, so many elements which are associated with becoming successful. And success also has a context of how everything is supporting you. So many a times factors which are beyond your control also come your way to make it successful. I was telling someone that reduce the number of questions if you want to go ahead basically, and if you want to hinder the process, ask as many questions as you can. Although technically speaking people do enumerate questions to answer them appropriately to make it right and to make it successful. Many authors subscribe to this, but my perspective here is that go for pertinent questions, very few. Look at the basics, look at the fundamentals, look at things with a wider, simpler view and let things go. And that is how things become successful. Look at the sky and just fly. So, you see, why to commercialize an innovation is a major question. According to several studies, between 5 and, as I said, there is statistics. So, between 5 and as many as 9 out of 10 new products end up being not successfully financially. I would not call it failure. Even truly innovative products often don't make as much money as organizations invest in them, and Andrew and Sirkin in 2022 wrote about this, and we are using this reference here. Andrew J.P. Sirkin, HL 2022 December 14, Innovating for Cash, Harvard Business Review. You see, and we have been bringing pertinent and contemporary articles and references for you, just to emphasize that great thinkers, people who are looking at things with a larger perspective from over the top, as well as getting associated with so many organizations and bringing pertinent researches back to us so that we can take lessons. And this is also one of those kind of researches. They have talked to so many people. So in the coming times, the success or failure of businesses will be determined by their commitment to refining their commercialization strategies. Definitely it is very important for us to look at that. Certain companies such as Canon, Philips and Merck have already demonstrated their ability to efficiently introduce technology driven products to market more frequently and rapidly, and there are several other examples. You may talk about IKEA, you may talk about Lego, I would be talking about that, and you may talk about Patanjali, you may talk about Mahindra's. I have already mentioned that. So this talks about that how this technology they introduce technology driven products to the market more frequently and rapidly than their counterparts who rely solely on intuitive and creative methods in commercialization processes. The majority of other companies will need to adopt and nurture this capability in order to prosper in the marketplace, and the reference is Neven, Sume and Uttal 1990. Xerox, I mentioned about that earlier. So Xerox had been a dominant force in the copier market for an extended period. And here we are just talking about monetization, time gaps, commercialization, perspective around it, and some methods, how to look at it. So, however, in mid 1970s their development cycles were slightly longer, and as I said, when we are looking at this with a retrospective perspective, then we may say that probably according to them it was an appropriate cycle. So, not to contest what Xerox says, we are just taking lessons. So, their cycles, their development cycles, they spanned 4 to 7 years and they did not do so well, and this can be seen as a cause, and authors are talking about this. So, there is a reference given at the foot of the slide. In 76, competitors like Canon swiftly entered the scene, introducing a series of mid-range plain paper copiers one after the other. Between 76 and 82, over 90 new copier models hit the market, 90 new copier models, a majority of which were mid-range machines. Consequently, Xerox's market share, which had stood at 82%, plummeted by half. It was because of competition, or they could not monetize their new models which they wanted to come up with. Let us see. Facing stiff competition, or competition did it well before time, that is how we should be looking at it. Facing stiff competition, lacking a competitive mid-range copier model of their own, Xerox initiated an urgent program to develop one. They looked at the competition, they went for it. However, the company's commercialization process struggled under the intense pressure. The resulting product, the 3300 model, proved to be both not so reliable and overly expensive, and being expensive is a comparative thing. We should remember this. We have talked about this in pricing as well. Additionally, Xerox couldn't roll out different versions quickly enough to establish 3300 as part of comprehensive product line covering various segments of the mid-range copier market. This is same Xerox which came up with a business model which was very successful. They used to lease their machines and they used to share the revenue, or that kind of a model, and which went very well for Xerox. Xerox came to India with Modi, and they were called Modi Xerox, and they did very well. If I am not wrong, between 95 and 97, 98, they did quite well, and their executives were star executives. They were doing exceptional job, but definitely there was an element which could have been addressed in terms of innovation as well as commercialization of that innovation. On the flip side, Canon had excelled in the art of commercializing technology. They introduced several technological innovations and rapidly launched 4 copiers in low end and mid range categories and speeds of 12, 20, 30 and 40 copies per minute respectively. The strategy allowed Canon to solidify its position in the mid range market, often at the expense of Xerox, as the paper says, but definitely competition is a relative thing. So, people look themselves as against competition or foreseen competition. Theodore Levitt has added a wonderful thing here, which we should look at with open mind and with a wide perspective, where he mentions that creativity is not enough. The fact that you can put a dozen inexperienced people in a room and conduct a brainstorming session that produces exciting new ideas shows how little relative importance ideas themselves actually have. Although I do not personally subscribe to this exactly, but Levitt has been a big thinker and a great contributor in terms of as far as whole business scenario goes around the world. His intent of suggesting this is that though we should not undermine innovation, we can never do that. Innovation is the backbone of whatever we are talking about here. So, but then how to, the relative importance should be seen with the perspective of how we are taking it to people in terms of monetizing and commercializing that innovation. So, that is why Levitt's quote on importance of ideas has been chosen. There is an important difference between being innovative and being innovative enterprise. That is what he wants to say. So, being innovative is good, but it is not enough. The former generates lots of ideas, the latter generates lots of cash. Cash is required to propel things. As I said, Paytm did well, but until the point they were trying to come up as far as a business model goes, that was a struggle phase, and definitely after that they became successful. So, success with money is real success. It is simply a board, and I am not subscribing to that money is everything. So, it is simply a broad management framework that helps companies turn ideas into financial returns. Businesses employ innovation approaches when they are introducing new products or services, making enhancements to existing offerings, or capitalizing on novel business prospects and disruptive technologies. Capitalization of technologies. Companies typically lean towards one of three distinct innovation strategies, each possessing its unique investment characteristics: profitability patterns, risk levels. There is an investment requirement and profitability pattern associated with whatever we are looking at in terms of innovation, and risk levels and skill prerequisites are there. Now let us look at one of those. For example, if you look at a strategic perspective of being an integrator. So manage all the steps necessary to generate profits from an idea. Investment requirements, what would be those here? High capital, and then maybe needed to set up a new manufacturing facilities, for instance. And capability requirements, if you look at strong cross-functional links within organization, product design, manufacturing process design skills, technical talent sourcing, and so on. If you want to be an integrator, you have to focus upon these kind of elements with this kind of a perspective. And it is best used when speed to market is not critical, because you have to do everything by yourself, and for that you have to develop the structures around and integrate those structures and integrate everything, and you are actually trying to put up yourself throughout the value chain as well, and we have been talking about this, and then you are actually the directing force of the value networks. And it is, as I said, best used when speed to the market is not critical, technology is proven, customer tastes are stable, and innovation is incremental. Authors have observed this with the help of a sample, or the companies or the organizations which they would have observed, and they have come up with this kind of a framework. This also can be thought about with a different kind of a perspective. So it is not that it is a sort of a mathematical formula here, but this is largely how it happens. For example, Intel. So many companies manage all the stages of the process by which they turn ideas into profits. By acting as integrators and controlling every link in the chain, they aim to reduce the risk of failure. You see, they feel that if they will do everything by themselves, then the chances of failure would reduce, or I would say the chances of success would increase. Intel serves an example of this comprehensive approach. This $26 billion company in 2002 allocated $4 billion to semiconductor research, manufactured products predominantly in its own facilities, and managed marketing, branding, and distribution of its chips. Many a times you have to secure the IPs, you have to protect your intellectual property, you wish to believe in your own branding strength, and you want to propel your own branding strength, and that takes time and a lot of energy as well. Many large organizations can do that. So Intel even ventured into high-tech toys and PC cameras to stimulate semiconductor demand. Now you are integrating within the value chain as well. Integration is often perceived as the least risky innovation approach by most large companies, mainly due to familiarity. Everything under control. But then if competition is coming with high speed and the market is growing fast, then you may be left behind, and we have seen that in case of Xerox and Canon as well. However, it necessitates manufacturing expertise, marketing acumen, and cross-functional collaboration for success, which are not developed overnight. If you have these with you, then you probably might do that. Additionally, it requires the highest initial investment and longest time to bring an innovation to market. Then there is a situation wherein one can act as an orchestrator. Focus on some steps and link with the partners to carry out the rest, because someone else would come up with those kind of things. But here there are some prerequisites and some disadvantages as well. So in terms of investment requirements, those are medium. So capital may be needed only to market the product. For example, if you have offlet the production, so you are not coming up with that kind of a facility, wherein integrators case you have to develop everything by yourself. And in terms of capability requirements, ability to collaborate with several partners simultaneously while not having direct control, now that is definitely questionable. So if, and especially if The market is, in terms of as far as your suppliers and your partners, they are larger organizations and they are powerful, and they are also being addressed by or they have relations with your competitors as well. So then next is culture that can let go of certain areas while focusing on core competencies. Complex project management skills, customer insight, brand management, ability to move quickly, and nimbleness. But it is best used when, as I said, there is a mature supplier partner base, if the relationships are intense. There is intense competition, a need for constant innovation is there, and you want to be ahead of everyone. Strong substitutes exist and technology is in early stages. For instance, when Porsche faced challenges in meeting the demand for Boxster following its launch in 1997, it opted to have Valmet in Finland manufacture the coupe rather than establishing a new facility, offlet it to someone. However, this approach can be challenging to oversee and may carry more risks than integrated approach. Foxconn has been partnering with few organizations to provide as far as some equipment or an element of their products to them. And there are several such organizations. I named JBM, which is partner to several kinds of organizations in terms of automotive manufacturing. Then there is licensor. License the innovation to another company to take it to market. That is also simplistic, but then it has questions as well. So investment requirements. Here it is low. Manufacturing and marketing expenses are borne by other companies. So you have an innovation and you license it to others. The other day I was meeting to Mr. Barali. He does not believe in generating IPs, but a very regarded innovator, and that very day he went for 172nd innovation which he did, invention and innovations, that is the large number which he has produced. A very simple person, Dr. Barali has done so much as far as the the innovations at grassroots level goes. And we were interviewing him in one of my researches, and we realized that somehow he believes in this licensing model, although he says that he does not goes for filing patents too often, and he does not care for that, because he ultimately wishes his innovations to spread as fast as they can. But there are many who file for patents and IPs and then offlet the license as far as the usage of those things go. So here, as I said, investment requirements are low. Capability requirements are where intellectual property management skills are to be needed, are needed at this stage. As I said, IP is most important. Basic research capabilities have to be there, contracting skills have to be there, and ability to influence standards are must as far as the situation goes. It is best used when there is a strong intellectual property protection. You know how to get IPs and protect those and use those IPs well. Importance of innovators' brand is low. Your importance of your brand is low, and you don't want to go for a branding exercise which requires a lot of intensity and energy as far as the whole scenario goes. Market is new to the innovator. You don't know everything about how to go inside the market and develop it and sort of lead it, or let us say fight with the competition and so on. You are hesitant of doing that. You have not learned that, or somehow you are skeptical of that. And then it is also best used when significant infrastructure is needed but not yet developed. In many cases you have innovated upon, but you are at a geographic location from where you won't be able to do it so easily, because this complementary infrastructure and those kind of things are not available to you. For instance, in 2002 IBM accrued $351 million from royalties obtained by granting other companies the rights to bring their products and technologies to market. Many large companies, they go for all these models simultaneously, and that is very interesting. In various industries, organizations have leveraged licensing to capitalize on innovations that did not align with their core strategies. Instead of being concerned about potentially releasing the next groundbreaking idea, savvy licensors seek equity stakes, in the ventures responsible for commercializing these unconventional innovations. And we are continuously using the reference of Andrew J.P. Sirkin HL 2022 December 14 Innovating for Cash Harvard Business Review. Too often, as the article says and the authors have found out, and as I said, it is a larger research, and they have done it very well. So, they say that too often businesses become entrenched in particular approach simply due to habit. They tend to favor the old and familiar, perceiving it as less risky because of comfort it brings over time. That is one part. The decision regarding the innovation approach is often not integrated into the decision making procedures of many companies. This oversight can result in failure of new product or new products not being so successful. That should be the better way to express that, and in some cases even the company itself. Now, let us see a case to learn some more details about that. Polaroid, for example. And you see, as I said, here we are not just denouncing any organization, and here we are not just putting up the perspective around failure or success, but we are trying to learn. For example, if you look into the same article and you read about Whirlpool, how Whirlpool contemporarily is doing, they have they are going for an as far as another innovation as of now, an article has mentioned about that, and article mentions about several other examples which are largely successful with this kind of a perspective which authors have talked about. So, if you will look at that, then you would definitely realize that success and not being so successful goes side by side, but success makes us learn in terms of what we can specifically think of as far as making it work. But when we are actually looking at the customization of those steps with regards to our industry, which article also talks about and authors in contemporary texts continuously talk about, when we look at this with that kind of a perspective, we definitely have to look into the models which are not so successful. So, that will give us a comparative of that at least what should be done is definitely there, but what shouldn't have been done or what we should not do, that should also be talked about. So, Polaroid committed some mistakes, we may say, and as I always say, retrospectively we can call them mistakes. Probably for Polaroid at that time it was right. So, Polaroid, despite having the resources and early insight into digital photography, faltered in the digital image market. The company was a leader in instant photography, boasting a strong brand, talented engineers, and an extensive global marketing and distribution network. So, what went wrong? Did something go wrong? Let us see. An article talks about that. Polaroid miscalculated the shift to digital photography. Polaroid underestimated the fierce competition it would face from both traditional photography companies and tech giants. The company was accustomed to long product development cycles, and we have talked about product development cycles earlier as well. So, company was accustomed to long product development cycles, and I mentioned that cycles are developed by organizations with their own perspective. From this side, we can say that they were going for long product development cycles and they were relying on 20-year patent protection. So, talking further about Polaroid, its vertically integrated manufacturing processes were ill suited, and as I said, I would call it not so well suited for the rapidly evolving digital market, particularly concerning computer chips which were governed by Moore's law. Polaroid's expertise lay in optics, perception and film technology, not electronic signal processing software and storage. Here the message is that things would have been different if they would have gone for a different kind of a model probably, and that is how we wish to look at it now. So, consequently the company had to make significant investments to compete in the digital imaging industry. When Polaroid finally entered the digital space, it continued its traditional approach of in-house research and manufacturing. You may look at it with the perspective of being an integrator. However, its initial digital products were expensive and they were not so successful in gaining traction. For example, the Helios digital imaging system was costly and not so successful. But here Polaroid was missing an opportunity to leverage its strengths differently by focusing on key digital technologies, outsourcing camera manufacturing and licensing image processing software. This would have allowed the company to offer high quality, affordable digital cameras with capitalizing on its strong brand and industry relationships. And that is the message, that is what the message is, that we have to look into models with an adaptive perspective when we wish to make things successful, especially with reference to monetization. It eventually outsourced digital camera manufacturing, as I said, but it was late. So, time matters a lot, and then we have talked about it, when these models are best suited. So, we have to look at those parameters and look at the timing and then go for the models. And as I said, many organizations, they go for every model depending upon which product and which kind of a market they are dealing with. So, the company's market share grew, but couldn't command premium prices due to competitors overtaking its brand, declining instant film sales, inability to generate sufficient digital business profits, and the need for more technology investment led Polaroid's debacle in terms of their profitability, and later on they filed for bankruptcy in October 2001. Choosing the wrong innovation approach proved not so good, and I would say disastrous, as the article mentions. So, in the context of evolving business dynamics, it is imperative to possess the skill of efficiently moving a product from its conceptual stage to the market. Distinguishing companies with adept commercialization capabilities from others involves considering 4 key factors: the speed at which they bring products to the market, the diversity of markets they target, the quantity of products they handle, and the scope of technologies they employ. These are valuable metrics for assessing a company's ability to commercialize effectively and compete in the market. That is where we have to look at time to market, range of markets, number of products, and breadth of technologies oblique innovation. One important element which we have to talk about here is that exceptional commercializers go beyond comprehending the significance of consistently and swiftly bringing the right product to the market. They proactively work to establish a framework where the organization can consistently and promptly attain this outcome, even if it necessitates a transformation in their business practices. To strengthen their commercialization capability, and mark these words, high performers do the following thing, and we are talking of high performers here as against not being so successful. High performers make commercialization capability a top management priority. It has always, they always lead it from the top side. Set goals to focus the effort, develop skills, and get managers directly involved in the commercialization process to speed actions and decisions. And you see, this article, the authors, they have written in this article that they have worked for past 15 years. When this article was written, for past 15 years they worked with companies on their innovation programs and commercialization practices. So, this is a 15 years longitudinal research which authors conducted, and based on their experience they spent the last 2 years before writing this article or presenting this research. They spent 2 years in analyzing more than 200 large corporations, mainly out of Fortune Global 1000 companies. So, this kind of a research is commendable, and it brings contemporary lessons for us with regards to one thing: innovation is most important in this world, but commercialization of innovation is slightly more important than innovation itself. I will be coming back to you with some very pertinent questions and question marks with regards to innovations which have been carried around in this world for past several years. And sometimes I personally wonder that if we would have never gone for those kind of innovations. I will be catching up back with you. Till then, goodbye.